Everybody, welcome back to the Beyond the Peloton podcast. I'm Spencer Martin, author of the Beyond the Peloton newsletter. I'm here with Andrew Vontz from the Choose the Hard Way podcast, the Always the Hard Way newsletter. And we have Jonathan Kaplan back from the wilderness. We brought him in. He just lit the internet up. I think I just got the notification an hour ago, a little 5 a.m. Substack notification. You just published your top 10 cyclists of all time. So we invited you on the show to unveil our own top 10 cyclists of all time and debate their merits. You mentioned this a few weeks ago. Then you start to think about it, you start to debate it with yourself, and Andrew and I were saying it's kind of an interesting exercise. You learn a lot. I found myself learning a lot that I didn't know before. But Jonathan, tell us, where did this come from, and what was the impetus to chase down this project?
Well, first, thanks for having me. So I walked into the Politics and Prose bookstore, I think 2 weeks ago, and they have a small, pretty good sports section. So I always go there first. It's all the way in the back, sort of hidden, so there's never people around. And I started noticing that The Athletic, which is now the New York Times sports section, has been publishing over the past few years lists of top 100. So they have one on basketball, NFL football, soccer, or football. So I bought the football one just because I thought of all those three, I'm probably more of a football fan than anyone else. And then I thought to myself, wow, this is pretty straightforward. We could do this for the top 100 cyclists of all time. And I thought, not only can we do this, the question isn't how hard it would be how much fun it would be. Then I started reading the top 100, the NFL 100, and it is quite a project.
Well, they're doing like 700 words at minimum, right, on each person?
Probably double or triple that. Yeah.
Oh my Lord. That's a book, and that's how you get a book, folks.
It is.
Andrew, you love The Athletic, right? You love the fact the New York Times gutted their union-run sports department and then now outsourced it to an extra subscription you have to sign up for if you want to read about sports in the Times.
I love that as local sports disappeared, they had the insight that there was this gap in sports coverage. They rolled up all of the unemployed local sports writers laid off by regional newspapers to provide a differentiated product. And now you get to pay a separate subscription to read the sports page on top of your cooking and primary New York Times subscription.
In your games, dude.
I'm not
boomers
a game
with
subscriber.
These games. Oh my!
You know what? I would probably pay an extra $5 a month not to get the pop up every time I log in, telling me to upgrade to the ultimate operating Thetan subscription. That it has games, it sharpens your knives, it'll pick your kids up at school, it'll do everything. I will say though, Jonathan, you walk in there, you see this book, and you say, "Hey, hold my NA beer. I'm on top of this," right? Here we are. And the first thing that I did once this conversation was underway, because you have to think about legends, not just the biggest names that you've heard about, but who are some of the true hitters, the Thurlow Rogers, the Chris Walkers, the Eric Saunders that may not be in the limelight, that are maybe more oriented around the SoCal crit scene. My next thought was, how's Kip Taylor looking in this conversation? So right now,
Kip is definitely listening to, waiting to see if he's on here.
Yeah, right now I have road results open. It's pretty interesting. Kip in the P12 category for more than a decade. Phenomenal rise going back to 2012. The earliest available date for Kip's 141 races, all P12.
Well, it's all there. I'm from the same era. And
all right, a lot of combined
happened,
P1, 2, 3s, right?
Well,
So I think
also a lot of the results got scrubbed because there was a big. Those of us will remember USA Cycling used to have this database. It was amazing. You could see everybody's race. Something happened, like they changed CMSs. It all got lost. Road to race results pops up, scraped a little bit of it, but they didn't get everything. So it's unfortunate we don't have the comprehensive view.
All right.
Kip's results are harder to track down than like Jacques Anquetil. For some reason, that's harder.
Fair enough. I forgot for a moment that Kip lived in New Mexico. So he was probably living in New Mexico at the time, because I'm in 2012 when he had 13 races, but he made them count. Some of the results for Kip that year: Tour of the Gila. Who's going to the Tour of the Gila as a Cat 3? Kip Taylor's going. Kip's there, and he takes stage 1. He wins. He's riding for Sports Systems Mountaintop. Still getting value out of that sponsorship in 2026. I want to point out.
That's baked in. That's not a
Yeah.
programmatic ad.
So
right
if
there.
you think having your logo on someone's kit for your dentist's office is not paying off, wait until 14 years later. You might get a shout out on this podcast. Kip also taking stage 2, third in the TT. I'm wondering if he didn't have specialized equipment. And in the crit, 53rd place. We're going to have to talk about that at a future time. Then, of course, in the Iron Horse road race, the race against the train, Durango to Silverton, taking first place. So Kip, definitely a factor in this conversation, but perhaps let's dig into the broader discussion here. And maybe we should talk, Jonathan, about your list, which you released just prior to this conversation to surprise us, which is fantastic. But I may have a bone to pick with it. So let's get into this.
What do you want me to do? Just read the top 10?
Also, for anyone who's watching, you might be wondering, is Jonathan actually Data from Star Trek? Because his mic glows every time he talks. This is actually a feature that may be a flaw of the Shure
I don't know
MV7
why
Plus.
they did this. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't
I don't
understand. I have the same mic. Mine's flipped around. We'll get Jonathan's flipped around after this broadcast. He's feeling a little self-conscious now. But it's a remarkable aspect of the MV7 Plus. But Jonathan, yeah, do you want to kind of take us through your list? Is that where we start here? Or do we want to talk criteria?
Before you do that, just so people they know, like, to hold the newspaper up to prove that this wasn't a canned episode, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts really quick on, well, first of all, Treno Adriatico. I don't know if you've been watching this. One thing I would note about this, Giulio Pellizzari, very good. Like, given the business to Matthew Van Der Poel and Isaac Del Toro, the guys in the race lead right now. So, something interesting. Young Italian rider, looks very good. Van Der Poel looks very good. Wout van Aert looks pretty good. That's my Treno roundup. Jonas Vingegaard at Paris-Nice. Have you guys been watching this? This is like one of the most dominant performances in a stage race I've maybe ever seen. He has a lead currently of 3.5 minutes. I could not find an edition of Paris-Nice that had a guy winning by that amount ever. Also, did you notice that it was kind of an interesting, it was cold the other day and he had this like strange layering technique. He started taking it off for the last climb, and underneath everything, he had a rain jacket on, but like backwards. Like, yeah, so he could take it off easier. And then he had these bibs on. It was thermal bibs, but they had cut them so he could like Hulk them off, like rip them off, throw them on the side of the road. He seemed to get cold feet and then just like put them on. So he's wearing his jersey with the bib straps over it. I've never seen anything like that in a bike race, but the Danes, it turns out, know how to dress for the warm weather. And it was one of the strangest races I've ever seen. Red Bull Bora just got on the front and it was like, hey, we're going to ride hard. It was kind of like a Cat 5 race. And literally everybody behind them crashed. Like, they all crashed except Jonas. And they just pulled him to the finish line as though he did not exist. And he wins. And the only thing I can think of is we have now hit the point where teams realize, like, don't even try to beat these guys. Just race for second, because what if Jonas gets lost on Sunday? We win now with Danny Martinez. It was really strange to see, but Jonas is back, folks. I don't know how else to say it. I hate to break the news. He's one of my least favorite GC riders, but it looks like we're going toward another Jonas Vingegaard, Tadej Pogacar Tour de France would be my news from Paris-Nice.
Spencer, just last episode, we were talking about that hot start to the year that I could not remember.
2023, it looks a lot like 2023 Jonas.
Yeah, it is looking a little bit like 2023. A lot of discussion about the provocative Chippendale style bibs over jersey look. I will say the winning strategy is the correct one. More riders may want to look into this in their next wet early season races. I don't know what the bus stop weather is looking like this week. Old man winter's already come and gone. But take a look around Scratch Cafe this week and let us know what you're seeing.
And what do we? So Juan Ayuso, we were saying like you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. The $10 million euro transfer, and that, I mean, crashed out. Like I feel bad for this. It's not really unfortunate incident, but it's not looking to me like he is about to unseat Jonas. That transfer, and I was talking to another team manager who was like, "Well, he's just not as good as something like." Well, then why'd they pay 10 million euros for him? Like, what are we doing here? You better be pretty good because you just paid the biggest transfer fee in the history of cycling for him. So I'm not feeling amazing about that transfer. Perhaps if I'm Little Trek.
Two things. One, for the average person to rip off a pair of bibs, that's one expensive proposition. Two, I thought Kaylee Fretz had a good piece in Escape Collective about how this went down, but he wrote, if I understood it, that Victor Kempernetz cut the hole in the bottom of the bib so that Jonas could just rip it off like Superman, I think.
Sounding a little bit like a subplot on a certain episode of Industry.
Gross.
Easy access. But now that I know that this is a Victor Campenard's scheme, have we ever seen this happen? Are we sure it's a viable plan? Like, could you actually do that? Should they not have listened to Victor?
Well, I think the plan was for him to stop and take it off, but he said the racing was so hard he couldn't do it.
Yeah, I guess like before it gets serious, he wasn't going to pull over and rip his pants off.
That is like really hard to do. It's hard to get into those things, hard to get out of those things.
You're stopping in a professional, there's not that many points you can pull over and like change clothes in a bike race. But yeah, maybe they were thinking there would be a bathroom break and they could pull over and do that. But it was crazy racing. I mean, it's kind of funny to me, Red Bull. So they've burned a lot of goodwill, I would imagine, because they're just riding on the front. Like guys are crashing and they're like, see you later. Like Juan Ayuso had to pull over and lay down. He was that hurt. Just had to take a moment. And they're just like, see ya. Like, okay, I understand if you burn goodwill for a result, but you burned goodwill to ride Jonas to the line so he could drop you. I don't fully know if that's worth the risk of then everyone being like, hey, remember when Red Bull ruined our day and broke the hip of our expensive GC contender? That's the part that I guess a lot to be seen. But Kaylee Fretz wrote an in-depth article about these bibs. Am I to understand?
It was like an 800-word piece. I mean, it was, yeah. I'll forward it to you guys after.
Where do we think was he on the ground reporting this, or did he just call up Victor and ask him?
He must have. Yeah, he's well sourced.
He's well sourced. How many sources could there be for that? It's coming straight from Victor's room. But okay, back to let's talk. This is also we should say, not our top 10 like favorite cyclists of all time. This is who we think are the best. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the other thing about
your criteria.
Sure. I mean, that's the other thing about the Football 100 and the Athletic is that, it is merit based. I mean, you have a lot to draw from in the NFL, Hall of Fame players, Super Bowls won, MVP selected, Pro Bowls for whatever that counts. But you can run into this problem that, you don't want Super Bowl winning quarterbacks are automatically going to be overrepresented. And I think, so what I tried to do was just assign values to various wins. Take the Grand Tour de France, the biggest race in all of cycling. Gets you 35 points for the yellow jersey. 25 Vuelta 20 minutes in the World Championships 20, and I included just an Olympic gold medal. Our record gets you 5 points, and then the Grand Tour stage win gets you I think it was 15 points. So maybe that was too high, but you get the issue here that you could keep going on and on and on. Points jersey should get you so many points. Should a stage at the Tour de France be worth more than a stage at the Giro? Should a podium finish at any of the Grand Tours be worth points? So you could go, I mean, you could have like unlimited number of variables.
Yeah, I thought about this very differently. I want to hear Spencer share his thoughts first.
Well, well, a Tour de France stage getting 15 points. So if you win 4 stages, that's equal to 2 total tours. In that, because you said or
Well,
30,
no, 2.
30.
Well, 2.
35.
Yeah, so 70 points if you win two Tour. If you win the Tour de France twice, you'd get 70 points. And if you win, yeah, I think the stages were probably overweighted.
Well, we'll get to that. I don't hate it because here's the tricky thing. And I laid out everybody in an objective ranking and created a formula that like every result you had gave you some sort of point, and then it added up the points in the end and just spit out who the top 10 of all time were. And it's an interesting list. It's like somehow it's instructive and you get riders maybe you wouldn't think of. I ultimately didn't do that because I came to the conclusion that cycling, it's so hard to it's very hard to quantify, because you think of someone like Mark Cavendish, the guy never won a Grand Tour, never even competed for one. How then do you measure his greatness against someone like Miguel Indurain, who never won, if I'm correct, a significant, not significant, he won St. Sebastian, but never won a monument. So you're trying to measure things that aren't really the same. You think about Primož Roglič, never won the Tour, but he's won, 5 Vueltas? So is 5 Vueltas equal to 1 Tour de France? Like we're into, as Andrew calls it, it's like Wolverine versus Batman or whatever. Like you're just getting into theoretical conversations. But so I just took I kind of scrapped that and just laid out who I thought the 10 best were. I included everyone that won 5 or more Tour de France's, are they like attorneys general, Tours de France? Because that's the biggest race in cycling. Everyone's trying to win it. If you win it, to me, it says you were probably the best that year because everyone's trying to win it. Same thing with the World Championship. So I rated World Championships, Tours de France to be the highest honor. So if you won 5 or more, there's a few riders that have done that, you're in my top 10. If you won a Tours de France multiple and World Championships multiple, you're in my top 10. And then I had a few like wild cards for someone like who was maybe like Peter Sagan or Mark Cavendish, who I think like Peter Sagan won 3 consecutive world titles, which no one's ever done. I don't think people fully understand how ridiculous that is. And Mark Cavendish, who won 55 Grand Tour stage wins, record for most Tour de France stage wins. Great, unbelievable longevity, not a Grand Tour contender, so he's not going to pop up in an objective formula ranking. He's also in my top 10. But Andrew, how did you go about this?
The thing that is the X factor here in my mind is parity of competition and level of competition by era, right? So if we were to go way back, like let's talk about the Merckx era. We know that Merckx was competing at a time when many of the athletes he competed against were not actual professional athletes doing it full time the way that he was. And I have Merckx on my list. I'm not diminishing his achievements. Equally, I think it's indisputable that as science has advanced and there's been I love the use of the word democratization. If you're not democratizing, you ain't trying in tech, business, and sport. If we think about the modern era, what do the Geraint Thomases of the world say all the time about the new generation of athletes entering the sport? It's that they're already doing everything that the world's top professional riders took maybe 10 or 15 years to figure out. So there's a democratization of training science, of nutrition, of recovery. You have more riders that are better than ever before in this moment in time. And that was simply not the case 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and certainly not 50 years ago.
Yeah, and this is a really tricky one because you've just poked a hole in potentially the entire project. Because if we're being honest, and this is going to upset people, the riders now are way better than the riders used to be.
Exactly.
And this is going to sound provocative, but I'm using it as an example on purpose just to get people's attention. Matthew Vanderpool today could probably compete for the 2014 overall Tour de France win. Like these guys, like Wout van Aert is climbing at speeds that former Grand Tour winners were climbing at. You know, you could take someone that you don't even consider to be like take Florian Lipowitz. He's riding away from Chris Froome. Like if you just whoop, time machine, put him on the same climbs, he's riding away. We're like, we've never seen someone as good as Florian Lipowitz if he's racing in 2015, 2016, 2017. So just people are getting faster, riders are getting better. Part of that is, I think, just they believe. They have belief in their heart. Like, hey, you know what? Let's attack for 100K out. You know, why am I waiting for the race to get complicated? Why don't I just go and win? And as you say, the training's just way better. Also, we should say equipment's way better. I mean, when you're riding on a 60 PSI, 32 mil tire, you're going to go a lot faster than when you're on a 19 mil tire pumped up to like 120 PSI on a really heavy bike with 195 mil cranks, and it's like you're pedaling into a bucket every time. So they have gone faster just from equipment as well. But Jonathan, do you want to unveil your list? Should we just each unveil our top 10? I'm worried if we do a snake draft or something, it's going to be too hard to follow. So we just...
Hey, let me click into the Excel document.
Can I throw one more thing out there before we get down? Because I think the reading of the list, while important, it's going to be a bit difficult to follow. It's going to be a lot of names in a row.
Yeah.
And I just want to throw one other thing out there is I looked at the modern era and then looked across eras. Another factor that I considered was not just wins, but where was this rider focused? Because to take Pog as an example, and Spencer, to your point, part of what has happened in the modern era is riders and teams, particularly of the Galacticos, have opened their aperture about what the best preparation is for the Tour de France or for other areas of competition. What that has meant is that we've seen Grand Tour riders, for example, showing up in spaces and places where previously there was not a snowball's chance they would ever be competing. Lance Armstrong was never going to Paris-Roubaix, for example, right?
Yeah.
So this is a consideration of mine. I'll just throw out there a rider that I have on my list. This is a bit orthogonal to the point that I'm making. I have John Tomac on my list. Why? Because I think genetically, John Tomac is among the greatest cyclists of all time. He raced very briefly in Europe. It was not the entirety of his focus. Go back and watch footage of John Tomac racing cross-country, downhill mountain bikes. Before that, he was a professional BMX racer. The guy looks like he could, if you could take 1994 John Tomac and put him on a World Cup cross-country course today, I think he's probably winning. I think he was that good. And he was dominant across a number of disciplines. And I think he could have been dominant in Europe if he'd made the decision to dope, but he decided not to. So if he decided, hey, I'm going to go into the unlimited category, I think he would have put some numbers on the board. But he said, actually, I'm going to go to a ranch in Durango and raise some cattle. All right, let's move on.
Confirmed he didn't dope. I also...
Yeah, that's okay. Fair point. I don't know.
I just know some people who are like, I took the high road, and then they didn't actually take the high road.
I don't think he ever even talked about it, honestly. He just was in Europe for, I think, less than a year, maybe 2 years on 7-Eleven, and then he went and became a rancher.
And a similar but less extreme example of that would be Miguel Indurain. 5 Tour de France wins.
185 pounds.
But never a monument. But if we do Andrew's exercise of if Miguel Indurain was not focusing on winning the Tour, he's wrecking house in many one-day races, probably. Like he's winning
size.
Multiple monuments. Well, he also has an FTP of like 550 watts. So just let that guy go at Flanders. Nobody's bringing him back, probably. But he just wasn't focused on that. So I was trying to take that into account at least with my list.
So I got to say, I love Miguel Indurain because when I first got to Washington and bought my first bike, there was a time trial every Wednesday night in Rock Creek Park. And it would go from Beast Drive up to the horse stables. And it was like a 5 mile and change. So I show up, I have like tennis shoes on. And the guy who ran it started calling me Kaplan Durain, which I
thought
love
you
the
were gonna say,
nickname. Love the nickname.
and I beat Miguel Indurain with my tennis
He
shoes on.
would crush that time trial.
Yeah, I bet he would do pretty well at the local beach drive time trial. I have to imagine he would.
I don't think it exists
hold his
anymore.
own.
It's kind of sad. Anyway, okay. So number 10, and I'll just go down to 1. Cavendish. Number 9, Lance Armstrong. Jacques Anquetil, Roger, help me out, Spencer, Roger de Vlaeminck.
Roger de Vlaeminck.
Yeah.
Controversial pick.
Okay, Rick Van Looy. One of my favorites, Gino Bartelli, Fausto Coppi, Tade, Hino, and Eddie Merckx. So let's just say falling outside of the top 10. And I should have run the numbers for Roglic, but I didn't. Indurain, Sean Kelly, Valverde, Francisco Moser.
Yeah, I also, just you saying Moser reminded me of this. I did not take into account our records. I believe you did, right?
Yeah, but only gave not very many points for it. But Moser won 25 Grand Tour stage wins.
So then, yeah,
6 monuments.
How many of those were Giro wins? Do we know?
1.
Interesting. So 25 Grand Tour stage wins. How many Tour de France stages did he win?
That's I didn't break it down like that. I just grabbed the total.
Well, that's also another tricky thing is what do we?
Yeah,
so
right,
he won 2
yeah.
stages of the Tour, 23 Giro stages. Yeah, so he's running up the score at the Giro d'Italia, which is that is the Budweiser distributor criterium of Grand Tours. This Giro. Andrew, do you want to do your top? Well, should we all do our top 10 and then we kind of debate the people that are left off, basically?
Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and do that. I think to open up, I want to say I'm still exploring and open to the invite to the Scratch Labs Alan Lim dinner on May 27th, if it's happening at Unbound. I've always wanted to have that experience at one of the pro athlete houses. Second, I wanted to say, while I am excited to go to the Riviera of the Plains, Emporia, Kansas, May 28th, one of the difficulties that's arisen in this journey is that visiting Emporia that week, I think I legitimately could take a vacation to Monaco for 5 days for less than the price of housing in Emporia, Kansas, the week of Unbound. And I'm just floating this out there. At this point, I am considering the helicopter transfer from Wichita. I'm looking into some Stranglers Row motel options, probably 30 to 90 minutes outside of town. And I'm putting it out there. If there's an optimal housing situation that's not $10,000 for 2 nights, which I did see that on Airbnb while looking, I'm open to hearing about it. Moving on to my list, Spencer, we were just talking about the Riviera of the Heartlands and the housing situation there.
Well,
Could you get a crop duster? Could you fit your plane in a crop duster and get like a farmer to fly you from?
Here's a funny thing. I was talking to Art O'Connor, WooCar Fit. He is the strength coach for Sofia Vichafanye, world champion Keegan Swenson, Chase Work, number of other athletes, and has an awesome training facility, training programs out in Utah. Also, a very storied ultra cold weather cyclist. He's on Choose the Hard Way this week. Check out the episode. I think you'll like it. He's coming to Unbound. He's down to do the adult contemporary gravel world tour shakeout ride. And he is he's driving his truck there, and then he's going to sleep in the driveway in one of the teams that has a house. This is a dire housing situation in Emporia, and I think it calls into question if you're going to become a destination for recreation, perhaps you should have housing.
This triggers me so much. Why are the biggest events in American cycling always in the hardest places to get to and then so unaffordable to stay in? I mean,
Steamboat. Yeah.
we could go to Monaco for less money. I mean, it is unbelievable. But yeah, Andrew needs a room. Can somebody hook him up?
Charleston, West Virginia.
Yeah.
But that's Charleston's not, I know this because my father-in-law lived there for 8 months doing a trial. Very expensive place to stay. I mean, they were like booking these hotels out for like $300-400 a night for the team of attorneys. And it's kind of the same. It's very far away, very, very expensive to get to, very expensive once you're there, because these are places that were not meant to be hosting major events. And it just, as someone from a small towns can be oddly expensive because there's no economies of scale. It's like a mini of Alaska situation in a lot of them, because it's both bad and expensive to live there.
Very safe, though. That's why our nuclear ICBMs are often based in places like Kansas. So good, safe place to be. I'll move on to my top 10.
Where you want to be, next to a nuclear intercontinental ballistic missile.
It's there because it would be hard to access potentially. All right, moving on to the top 10. I'll go in reverse order. So number 10, I'm thinking about the future here. Who am I talking about? Rich Big Paul Success. That's who I've got in my number 10.
That is unbelievable that you have Paul Seychelles.
I'm rolling the dice. It's not just about results. It's about
I like it.
Unlimited human potential. So I've got Big Rich Paul Success at number 10. Number 9, another controversial take given some aspects of his career. I'm going with Alejandro Valverde. Number 9, Johan Museu. He wore it well. Looked good on that Colnago throughout his career. Number 7, Greg LeMond. World Championship wins on the road. The Tour wins, of course, after getting nearly killed in a hunting incident by his brother-in-law. And then a professional mountain biker following his road career. That didn't go very well, but that's something to think about. All right, number 6. I may have more than 10 people on this list. Number 6, Matthew Vanderpool. Number 5, John Tomac. I may flip the order of those. Number 4, Miguel Indurain. Number 3, Lance Armstrong. Number 2, Eddie Merckx. And number 1, it's no surprise, Kip Taylor.
Just edging out today.
Yeah. If he hadn't been taken out by the injury in the offseason, he definitely would be in number 1. However, instead, I'm going to go with Tadej Pogačar.
Well, here, I'll say my list. My list is very similar to yours, and then we'll debate and discuss. So my number 10, Jacques Anquetil, 8 Grand Tour wins, 5 Tour de France, 1 Monument, I believe, 23 Grand Tour stage wins. Number 9, Peter Sagan. A little bit of a controversial pick, but let me make case. 8 points jerseys, 7 green jerseys at the Tour. That's wild. That's more than a lot. That's more green jerseys than a lot of great riders have wins in stages of the Tour. 2 Monuments, not what we wanted from him, but 2's not nothing. 18 Grand Tour stage wins, 3 consecutive World Championships. I still can't believe it. 8, Mark Cavendish, 4 points jerseys, 2 at the Tour, 55 Grand Tour stage wins, the record for Tour de France stage wins, and a World Championship. Not easy for a sprinter.
Forgot about it, honestly. I forgot about the World's title.
Miguel Indurain, number 7, 7 Grand Tour wins, 5 at the Tour, 16 Grand Tour stage wins, a Classica San Sebastian. I'm also not counting time trial wins, and that's maybe a mistake, but no, I'm counting time trial stage wins, not standalone like time trial world championships. I just feel like that's very specialized and not everyone was dialed in on that. But great, he's won a lot of time trials at world championship and maybe Olympic level. I don't even know if he won Olympics. I'm not sure. Somebody tell me. I don't like the Olympics that much. Number 6, Gino Bartoli, 5 Grand Tour wins, 2 Tour de France, 7 Monuments, 29 Grand Tour stage wins, probably a lot of 0, if we're being honest. 5 Fausto Coppi, 7 Grand Tour wins, 2 Tour de France's, 9 Monuments, 31 Grand Tour stage wins, a World Championship. Bernard Hinault, number 4. Am I the first one to mention Hinault? I believe so.
I had him number 2.
You have number 2. Okay, 10 Grand, number 2. He's very good. 10 Grand Tour wins, 5 Tour de France, 5 Monuments, 41 stage wins at Grand Tours, and a world title. Number 3, Lance Armstrong, 7 Grand Tour wins, 7 of them at the Tour de France, and we're counting them because if we start going back, Eddie Merckx tested positive at a Grand Tour, folks. So we can't start going back and litigating this. 23 Grand Tour stage wins. I think I had to hand count that because his results were tougher to find. In a World Championship. Number 2, Eddie Merckx, 11 Grand Tour wins, 5 Tour de France's. 11 is a lot. 19 monuments. That's crazy. 64 Grand Tour stage wins, so even more than Mark Cavendish, even though Mark Cavendish has more tour wins. 3 world titles. That's a lot. Number one, and we got to remember, Andrew has multiple active riders in his top 10, but these are still being counted. That's the crazy thing about, like, number one, Tadej Pogačar. 5 Grand Tour wins, 4 Tour de France's, probably soon to be 5. 10 monuments, probably soon to be 12. 30 Grand Tour stage wins, 2 world titles, probably soon to be 3. So I have today above Eddie, even though his results are not as good numerically because they're still happening, and I think he's competing against a higher level of competition. Also, this is I think that, yeah, I was, Andrew, on like Van der Poel. You had Van der Poel on there. But just to get like a couple facts here, these are the people I left off. I was thinking about John Kelly, 9 monuments, no tour wins. He did win a Vuelta though. 21 Grand Tour stage wins, 5 at the Tour de France, and like 7 straight Pyrenees wins. Tom Boonen, 7 monuments, 7 cobbled wins, 8 Grand Tour stage wins, and a world title. Fabian Cancellara, 7 monument wins, 6 of them at the cobbles, 11 Grand Tour stage wins, 8 at the Tour de France. Just quickly, this is nuts. So Mathieu van der Poel, he's not on here because he currently has 8 monument wins, only has 3 Grand Tour stage wins, has a world championship though. To me, it's hard to get over the Grand Tour no showing. But Van der Poel, he has 8 monuments and 6 cobbled wins in 7 seasons of competing on the cobbles. In that same time frame, Tom Boonen, who you would consider probably be the best cobbled rider of all time, has 4 in his first 7 seasons competing on the cobbles. Fabian Cancellara has 2. Eddie Merckx, 3. So that's how much Mathieu van der Poel is the best cobbled rider of all time, and it's not even particularly close. Like Eddie Merckx, unbelievable results. 3 cobbled wins in his first 7 tries. Van der Poel has, or his first 7 seasons of trying. Van der Poel has 6. It's nuts how good this guy is. And also, we should say, an interesting thing I noticed, most of these riders, almost all of them, won all of these Palmares in a 10-year period. It's freaky, actually, how similar it is that no matter when you start, the clock starts, and you get 10 years to win all this stuff. So for Pogačar, he's got 4 years left. Van der Poel, he's got 3-ish years left. So that's another thing I found really interesting, that they all had almost identical win windows when we consider how long they were winning for.
I think, let me try to keep this in my head. 3 things. 1, the difficulty of comparing eras, right? That's certainly a challenge when you do this, as Andrew pointed out. 2, there's really no debate among the 3 of us that Lance is to be included. And in the Substack column I wrote, I was hoping that Lance would write the intro to the book.
I'll ask him.
Okay.
So
You don't have to. I already did. You don't have to ask him. And then, the third point that Spencer makes is that, Tom Boonen, Peter Sagan. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is not just the numbers, but the issue of like panache. Like, what kind of a champion are you? That's got to count for something.
Then we'd have Pantani on the list.
Yeah, I would say that's the big notable omission from all 3 lists.
Right.
Is that, but you actually go through Pantani, and I'm not throwing shade at the guy, but the Palmares do not match the figure in your mind, if that makes sense. But he did.
Well, he did die.
He died after he retired. But it's kind of like Greg LeMond. My big ding on Greg LeMond is him getting shot in the chest, because when I'm tallying the results, I'm kind of penalizing Greg LeMond for having been shot, because happened right in the middle of his career, and then he doesn't achieve probably the numeric success that he should have. Like Pantani, though, picked his spots well. I mean, Pantani, it actually is crazy to me that he won that Tour de France. The man was wearing a bandana in time trials and was not a good time trialist and won a Tour de France. So anything is possible if you put your mind to it. And that's all I'll say about that. Unbelievable. He did that. Andrew, who was the rider that you left off that you felt that was the toughest decision for you?
Before I get to that, I want to apply part of what I learned building the Better Lab to lend Jonathan a hand here. So Jonathan mentioned he has the intention of writing this book instead of the book that he explicitly stated several episodes ago he was born to write, which is being embedded with the team and writing about a year of the team. So if you're a world tour team out there and you want Jonathan Kaplan potentially sharing a hotel room with your writer, PlayStation, the whole deal, maybe make a rap video with Jonathan, he's ready to go. He will leave his family for an entire year. He'll live on the volcano, whatever it takes. I also wanted Jonathan to give you a hand with some discovery and customer research. So if you're listening to this, Jonathan has mentioned the intention of not writing the book he actually wants to write. He's now going to write a book because he saw a book at the bookstore that it would be successful, which is this is typically
Three of them.
yeah, the best way to decide to spend about 2 years of your life on a book project. So, I would like to help here by asking listeners, is this a book that you would be interested in reading, and would you buy it? So, let's get some feedback on
This is like actually a key question.
yeah, on
Yeah.
the demand and commercial viability, because, Jonathan, I don't believe this is the book you actually want to write, and I after spending time and seeing what you went through in the Normatec boot addiction phase, I wanna make sure that the years ahead, see you getting compressed frequently on the couch in those Normatecs with large stacks of revenue from this book. So who did I leave off the list? I mean, obviously, I left everyone off from bygone eras of cycling. There's no Jacques Anquetil on my list. There are a lot of people Sean Kelly, I think, was probably one of the toughest for me because when you listen to writers from that era who rode with Sean Kelly talk about Sean Kelly, it's not just he was the hardest hard man to ever live, which you hear frequently. It was he could pog people. He could just ride anyone off his wheel at any time, and he did it in toe clips without a helmet most of the time. And Victor Campenertz, perhaps in a throwback to that era, no sunglasses, right?
Yeah, no sunglasses. You're right. The thing about Sean Kelly, too, I mean, this does not count for the top 10 of all time. He's still doing it, though. Like, the man is still out at Richmond Park, probably this morning, ripping laps, 70 years old, and he's strong as fuck, dude. The guy is unbelievable. Very humble guy, too. You mean he's sixth all time in monument wins as like a stage racer, could do both. Kind of a proto Pogacar, very no ego. You meet the guy, you would not know that he was one of the best cyclists of all time. So I also had a hard time leaving him off the list. He was my probably 11th rider if we got to pick 11.
Jonathan, how about you? Who did you leave off?
Well, I think Tom Boonen, Peter Sagan. I think I mentioned a couple others who were just outside the top 10. I'll tell you what, one guy who wouldn't make the cut and I didn't want him on the list is Chris Froome. I can't think of a more uninspiring champion.
Let's unpack that a little bit because I want to talk about this because we talked privately about Chris Froome and it's not just the tour wins. This guy did some of the most disruptive things strategically and tactically that we've actually ever seen in professional cycling, whether it's taking 1,000 times the limit of whatever the steroid is that you get.
Albuterol.
Is it albuterol? Albuterol is the asthma
It was
inhaler.
like a lethal amount of it.
Yeah.
But that's what he's doing for the sport.
He could have killed a bison with the amount of that steroid he was taking. He had a TUE and he got away with it. So that's number one. Number two, the Super Tuck. Remember when he introduced the Super Tuck to professional racing and did a downhill attack the world had never seen before? Nobody was downhill attacking. They were just getting down the mountain. And then the third thing that he did
as a bad
descender.
The book on him was that he was a bad descender and then he wins on a descent. Yeah.
Right.
So
I guess I'm going to list four. The third thing he did, extremely high cadence all the time. I agree with this. His writing style is very ugly. It's also incredibly effective. And what have we seen as cycling has progressed? Was, it all goes, it's 1 degree of Kip. Going back to Kip in Tucson, during the offsite in 2025? Yeah, I guess it was 2025. What was Kip's mantra? Like, keep that cadence above 90,
But
right?
It
I mean,
was.
have you heard Greg LeMond talk about this? He says it's not efficient.
All right. Okay, we
And
could
Greg LeMond,
argue
pretty
about
good.
it.
Also, Lionel Sanders, low
Right.
cadence for that. I mean,
Okay,
Chris
I'm
Froome,
gonna.
some of the cadence was a little too high. Like,
It was
maybe
maybe
don't
a
do
little too
110, buddy.
I don't know if I want to give him credit for this because this hasn't seemed to stick, but he also was one of the first riders in the world tour to introduce asymmetric chain rings. And then the fifth thing that he did that was highly disruptive, the first rider I've ever seen run without a bike in the Tour de France, which is actually illegal. You can't do it.
Which is, yeah, not allowed. Still crazy to me that happened.
Yeah.
Like,
So those are 5 things that Chris Froome did that changed the sport forever.
well, on the oval chain rings, you don't see him anymore.
We did see them at the adult contemporary gravel, Abandon Your Family offsite.
Dan Swinson is
Tucson. And what did Dan have? Dan had shifting problems.
yeah, it's I used to have oval chain rings, and I just found it to be a mess. I did not think it helped that much. I would say too, Super Tuck. I think Louis Menchie's Junior World Championships, I believe it was like 2014, maybe 2013. I think he did the Super Tuck before Chris Froome. But do you know who the active rider with the most Grand Tour wins is? This is going to blow your mind. It's a very obvious answer. We were just talking about the man.
Tade?
It's
No.
Chris Froome.
Oh.
The man
Whoa.
hasn't retired.
Oh, I see. There was
He's still
technicality
an
here. Got
active
it.
rider. It's a technicality. I think he still considers himself an active professional.
You know,
He's
okay.
unattached. Could you enter
Wow.
the World Tour unattached? Like,
Yeah, we need Froome unattached to the coming Tour de France.
What I'm curious to see, because somebody fact check me here, I believe that Froome started out as a mountain biker. I am
That's
curious
right.
if we're going to see him at Cape Epic at sometime in the future, and could he win? All right.
Good enough. I mean, you've seen him race road bikes recently. Those guys are fast at Cape Epic. I mean, we're talking like struggling to make the. I don't know, and must just be complications from the crash, right? Because he's not been the same rider since Jonathan's friend signed him in 2019, 2020 for a
might be
hefty
news to
sum
him.
of 5 million euros a year. He just was not the same guy after.
But there was a more recent crash too. I mean, it's kind of, sad.
I find it fascinating that he has not said, I am retired. And he must still be. I mean, is he still in the testing pool? These are things I would want to know. It's one of the weirder careers, I would say, because he wins 4 tours in quick succession. 4 tours in 5 years? Lights go out. Then he wins he wins the Giro in 2018. That's the last race he ever won. 2018. And I don't think I've ever seen a champion of that level just kind of disappear. And I think he almost disappeared because he stayed active. You don't remember him as a champion. You just remember him as like this guy that's in these races while we're seeing things we never thought we would see happen on a bike. And then it makes his feat seem less impressive, even though at the time they were very impressive. I mean, one of the most potent Grand Tour winners I've ever seen, outside of Lance, but also Lance was not winning the Tour and then being like, you know where I'm going to go? The Vuelta a España, and I'm going to win that too in the same year. Like, that's psycho behavior that deserves to be commended, but it's such a strange career post that 2018 Giro win.
Is Froome one of the guys who won the Tour without winning a stage in one of those victories?
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I do know the last time that happened, though, was Egan Bernal in 2019, I believe. Wait, yeah, it has to be. Because it wouldn't have been Tadej and it wouldn't have been Jonas won a stage in all his tours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you another question. Oh, go ahead, Spencer, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Can we even get to 100? I mean, obviously we can get to 100, but by the time you get past 30 or 40, is it even interesting?
Yeah, I mean, 100 is a lot.
Right,
like,
right.
100 is a lot. I would say 30. Like there's someone like Moreno Argentin. That's an interesting name. A lot of wins, 4 Liège wins. I don't know. There's probably an interesting story. The thing is, I don't know. And probably the flaw with this book is you would need someone like Daniel Friebe who can talk at length about these people's lives. Like, what would I say about Moreno? I would say that he won 4 Lièges in 13 stages to 0 and 3 flushes in a world championship and has a cool last name. I just don't know how much I would have to offer on a lot of these riders. I think that would be my biggest obstacle to 100.
I think
Yeah.
what you could do is you could easily do a book of the top 100 cyclists on the American Criterium professional circuit of all time. I think that'd be a fantastic book. I think that maybe has a bigger total addressable market than
see.
Oh my,
Yeah.
there's no way. What? Yeah, because that's what they say about the Criterium scene. There's too many fans, actually. People can't
but
get enough of it.
but the personalities, they're
Well, it
big
would
and
be a
legendary
crime book,
personalities.
basically. It actually would be kind of. I mean, what
The
a lot of
access
these
would be so much easier.
a lot
in
of these
theory.
guys had to have side careers, as very interesting side careers that probably would make for a good book. Before I do have to run. We've got Italy's looking great. Filippo Ganna back to the peloton, Tirreno, and then I've got to do a school run. But Jonathan, you also presented a bold idea off the top rope. I didn't see it coming on your Substack the other day. The 2027 Tour de France should start in America. Never mind that it's already starting in Scotland. You're going to fix this problem. You're stealing it from Scotland. You want it to be in Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Boston, never mind the 7-hour transfer between Philadelphia and Boston. Tell us where did this idea come from? And then, Andrew, I want to hear your thoughts on if you want to see the Tour de France start in America. And to give people a little bit of context, sometimes you'll see news stories like the Giro d'Italia is going to start in Washington, D.C. I tend to think these are not serious. These are just people, they're leaking it to drive up the price of because what they do is they go to Albania and say, if you give us 7 million euros, we'll have the first 3 days of the Giro d'Italia there. And they keep the price high by threatening to go to Australia or the US, but I don't know if we'll ever actually see that or if it's a good idea. But Andrew, why do you want this to happen?
Did I say I wanted this to happen?
No, not Andrew. Andrew, tell us why are you in love with this idea? Now, Jonathan, why do you want this to happen? And Andrew, I think I know where you stand, but we purposely not discuss this.
So first of all, I hid it from you guys because I knew they would be so easy to poke holes in. The feasibility of it, the practicality of it, the sheer the idea of it. So my theory was to go from Richmond to Philly to New York, leave Washington out of it. But it was inherently
Richmond.
Richmond has proved it can hold a world-class race. But I just thought the country needed a shot in the arm, that things aren't going well. It's bleak out there.
It's called fentanyl, Jonathan.
And most of the country is on it. So the shots are happening into the arm.
I just thought, look, it's inherently political. Probably not something, at least half your listeners might not want to hear. So I just thought it would be a provocative way to, stick it to the man. A former professional race organizer turned reality television host turned president of the United States. But you bring the Tour de France here. It symbolizes quite a. I mean, the race is bigger than the race, right? And I just thought having that in the United States at this zeitgeist, at this moment in time, would be helpful. And so the problem, I didn't say I would fix the problem. I said, you have 3 governors of, all presidential timber. If they could negotiate this and prove their diplomatic chops, I mean, that would be quite the coup for them. I brought the Tour de France to the United States. So that was another angle of it. The piece was too big. It was too big for 800 words. But there was a lot I packed in there.
The people could not comprehend. Can you imagine how upset Scotland would be?
I will
This
say,
would be
upset who?
Scotland would be.
Oh, Scotland.
Sorry.
They would still get the Tour de France.
It's a
Just not in
beautiful country.
2027.
Yeah,
But-
you wanted universal health care. You got 3 governors.
Well, I was just
negotiating.
about to ask, is this a good use of money, of public money? Philadelphia's got their highways collapsing, but they're spending millions on
Just
getting
how
the
much
Tour de France there.
how much tax dollars it would bring in, how much revenue it would create. The one thing this a British writer I posted on LinkedIn, this British writer wrote it. He's like, this idea is kind of whimsical. I wish he had just said the idea sucks. This is stupid.
I don't think he thought it
Whimsical
sucked,
was
honestly.
like, that hurt, that cut deep.
Yeah. All right. So what's my take? Kenny's cutting in here. When I think about this idea and what you just described, in particular, the political aspect and potential economic windfall, I believe that what you're actually describing is the Tour de Trump.
I know, it actually did remind me a lot of the Tour de Trump.
I believe you're proposing that half of the Tour de Trump, which if you haven't followed bike racing for very long, was an actual race. It was the Tour de Pont, honoring the chemical and weapons manufacturer. And then
that family, interesting history.
Well, I actually wrote about this, so we can post it in the show notes.
Yeah.
The history of the Tour de Trump. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then after that, there was the Tour de Trump. The thing that I thought about this, Jonathan, when I read it, again, if you haven't watched the current season of Industry, this may not land, but I just thought of you sitting there with like a quill pen writing, "Dear Henry, in 2028, the Tour de France will visit the United States. Dear Henry."
There's a hole in your bucket.
There's a hole somewhere in that episode.
Yeah. My thought on this is, and I think about this every time they do any kind of stunt start to the Tour de France, to Spencer's point, what's this about? It's about a privately owned event extorting money from
harvesting
from cities dollars. And then like creating false pressure in the negotiation by lying and saying we're going to go to place X so that place Y will write them a bigger check, and then they pray that there's not a mudslide that stops the stage and they can't finish it. And
because we got to collect that check from that start town.
Totally. Yeah. In the start town, the giant entourage vehicle that looks like a donut can't go through and throw out the mini donuts. Like it's a catastrophe. So that's my thought. The thing that I always think about when there are these transfers that are really onerous is just what a burden it places on the riders and the staff. I don't even remember what the transfer was last year, but wasn't there a transfer where every rider had to immediately get on a plane, like every rider on one plane, which if that plane, I'm thinking about the current state of the world, if you put all of the best professional athletes in the world on one plane and fly it over Europe, is this perhaps not a great idea at this moment in time? Number one. Number two, that also forced all of the staff who have to travel overland in buses, vans, and cars to drive for 10 hours following a stage to then be awake to do the same thing the next day.
Well, and then at the Giro, they had to do an overnight ferry from Albania.
Yeah,
the ferry. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. It just all goes back to this being an unprofessional circus. And Spencer, of course, is going to point out the conditions in NFL training facilities, even though those owners extort cities for billions of dollars.
Well, Andrew, right? we know this playbook because we've been living this playbook our whole life. Like, oh, we might move to Pittsburgh. Our hometown has an NBA arena because we got fooled into building it because the Pittsburgh Penguins wanted a new arena at their home. So they said, oh, we're going to move to Kansas City. And then guess what? Kansas City built them an arena that's empty. Nothing's happening. Right. Awesome. And when you stay in a hotel in Kansas City, you notice you're paying for that. But the thing about the tour is the foreign starts make me, and this is not a judgment on the United States in particular. I do think Richmond had a great world championship. I think Richmond, of all the cities you mentioned, would actually be the best fit because what happens is when the tour goes to big cities, even Paris, it gets a little lost in the shuffle. I think bike races, it's why Tulsa Tough is so good. You got to like be able to take over a city and like you own that city. That's why Richmond Worlds, if you had the World Championships in DC, would people have been like, what's this race? Oh, I need to drive around. Versus when it's in Richmond, it's the event of the city. The tour abroad makes me sad. It's like seeing a like a domesticated orca. I don't like it. I really don't care for it. When they go to adjacent countries, I can tolerate it. Like Spain, I remember there was a stage in the Black Forest in Germany in like 2005 that I thought was really good. I like when it's a natural
Hansel and Gretel,
sharing of the tour, but when it's just like they pop, even Copenhagen, I did not like Copenhagen at all. As a Tour de France, I don't look back on those stages with fond memories. I thought the Albania stages at the Giro they're almost like purposely boring because I don't want to burn good racing before they get home. So I'm not a fan of the tour. I think the tour in the US would be really depressing. Do you think it would connect with the country where people would be like, what is this? I've got to get to my jiu-jitsu practice. Why is the road blocked off? That's what I would worry about.
I can't get to my peptide doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a gamble. It's a gamble. It's a risk. You just don't know. We just don't know.
Well,
we'll probably never know because it's never going to happen.
Part of what I thought when you dropped this, Jonathan, is I felt like, well, when Jonathan is embedded with a team for a full year, this will enable him to see his family for a couple of days.
Yeah, this is a little
right?
self-dealing built in here.
Oh, yeah. I thought like, you were going to say, I'm in the team car for days on end with a guy like, Richard Pluga, and I'm just like bothering him and hectoring him the whole time. And, pretty soon the race is in the U.S.
Because Richard Pluga's making those decisions.
Yeah, he gets all the other guys on board, and
they would have to then fly. So you're proposing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They then fly Boston to France on Monday, Sunday night.
No, Sunday night. Yeah,
and then they race on Tuesday.
They're young. Those guys are young, younger than me.
That would be
younger than you.
I mean, Scott. We know Scott McGill could do it, but.
McGill could do it. 2 Jersey Mike.
He might win the Tour de France.
Dude, just wah. He's gonna get so mad at you.
He's never. Did you hear?
He's gonna come spearfish me. Yeah.
Funny story about Scott McGill where someone couldn't get him on their podcast, and then that person was like, "Oh, someone on Bonk Bros said you wouldn't come on." He said, "Who said that? I'll come on in 5 minutes." And then he just he booked him right there. Who said that? I'm not afraid to come on. And then I mean, I appreciate the big ideas we got. And I do think you're poking. I think of the whole proposal. I actually thought Richmond was the city I didn't remember. I thought that would be the best fit because you can go, as you saw with the World Championships, that was a great World Championships. You can go in and you can take over these mid-sized U.S. cities. And I thought the course was pretty good, actually. But yeah, I don't want to see the tour in America. It would make me so. It's like when you have 2 friend groups and you're like, I don't want you guys to meet. Like you're not going to have anything in common.
Worlds collide.
Yeah, we don't. Like Tade's getting run off the road, and I don't want him to have to deal with that.
All right, fair enough.
Are we going to Montreal World Championships in September? That's the big question.
Yeah. As long as Airbnb doesn't realize, when Airbnb realizes what's happening that weekend, they jack up the price and they cancel my reservation.
Yeah, it's a classic move.
Yeah.
Probably cheaper than going to Emporia for Unbound.
Definitely cheaper.
Definitely.
Yeah. I booked a suite at the Hyatt for like $200 a night for the World Championships. And then that's not even getting me a sandwich in Emporia for Unbound. Also, I do have to run. Before we go, I always want to check in with you guys on this. Your top 3 GC riders right now. You go first, Andrew.
Jonas, Pog.
Jonas, I love it. He's going to win the tour.
Yeah, I mean, don't count the man out. And Big Rich Paul success.
I like that. I think that's probably, and we should say, we heard, we will not say the rider's name. We heard that a pro rider is being repped by LeBron James's agent, Rich Paul. We've not verified if that's true or not.
If you can verify it, though, you know who we're talking about.
please reach out.
DMs are open at Hardway
Yeah.
Pod.
That's a good list. I'm not going to disagree. Instead of Paul, we need an official ruling on how to pronounce his last name.
He says it's almost like success. Like it's Paul success.
Okay.
Basically is how he says it.
I'm just going to add Vanderpool. I thought he was so impressive in that win.
You're going to add Vanderpool to your best
GC list?
GC list?
GC, sorry.
We're here for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
No.
Maybe there's something we don't know about.
Sorry,
he's not going back to cross in the fall. Like this is
Yeah. No, sorry.
well, Jonathan, hold on. While you're thinking, I did want to make a note on MVDP. His recent quotes about how eager and excited he is for Milan San Remo have me even more interested than I already was in this race.
He's edging us, man. We can't wait for this race. Best race of the year.
All right, Jonathan, who's your third rider?
I'll agree with you. I'll go with all three. It's too bad Juan Ayuso got hurt. I thought he looked good.
So you both think if the Tour de France starts
No.
tomorrow,
I'm gonna put
winning?
Isaac Del Toro. I'll go with Isaac.
Is your third?
Itzhak?
Yes.
For your third?
Third, yeah.
So you have Jonas winning the Tour if it starts right now.
Yeah, I thought he looked that good. Yeah.
You guys are such prisoners of the moment. Jonas.
Hold on. I didn't realize, were we ranking them in order?
This is order.
Okay.
This is in order.
I've got Pog winning the Tour.
Okay.
I've got Jonas second and Big Rich Paul Success third. Although there's now this conversation about he's not ready. Let him send the guy to the Tour. Let's see what he can do.
Let's Tom Dumoulin him and make sure we never send him to the Tour when he could actually win it, and then he never wins it because that worked out so well
and leaves the sport.
Yeah, because he's so sick of never racing the best race. My inbox is full of people saying Jonas Vingegaard is now better than Tadej Pogacar. Mere days after Tadej's ruined the sport because he's too good. And people's memories are like goldfish. But yeah, I have Pog 1. Jonas is still 2. To me, that's the big story of the week. Jonas said, sit down, kids. Dad's home. I'm here to get second at the Tour de France. Once again, Juan Ayuso's stock down. I do think the third spot is interesting. I think Big Rich Paul Success, I think that's a legitimate, I don't think that's you trolling. I think there's a legitimate case to be made. I'm going to go Del Toro, like Jonathan. I think
he does look very good.
Having said that, he might lose. He's losing Tirreno currently to Giulio Pellizzari because he sat up in a sprint, probably didn't realize there was bonus seconds, and then Pellizzari
doesn't have room on the wall for the Trident.
Yeah, so if he can't win Tirreno, can he win? Can he get third at the Tour? I do think he'll get third at the Tour de France. I do think Paul Success could get third at the Tour. I think they got to send him. I think you get third. I've never seen anything like what we're watching with him. We're watching someone get better every race. Him at Strada, that was the most impressive teenager performance we've ever seen in the sport. So it's an exciting time.
Spencer, I have to ask, did you see Big Rich Paul Success's brother, Nico, at the UAE camp?
I did. Okay. Did you guys see that picture? So I was going to send you this picture because that's nice looking hotel, not expensive at all. We might be staying there next year during that camp. Yeah, but the brother, it's like Jeremy Giambi. We're like, he's going to be amazing, and it's like, yeah, he's kind of good. He's a replacement level professional. I'm not a big, not big brother guy. I'm not a big sign the brother because the other brother's good. Because I think Pogacar has a brother that races. Did you guys know this?
Sagan,
really?
I didn't know Pogacar does. Sagan did. So does Pidcock. Yeah,
little Pidcock.
And then we've got the Van Dykes
last
currently
at
racing, right? Got the Van Dykes. There were the twins. Yeah,
the Van Dyke twins used to be on Visma, and then Visma lets them go. Like the Morris twins in the NBA used to get paid like into the same bank account? Is that the same as the Van Dyke twins? They're just on one contract.
Could be
dangerous.
But then they just pulled. Those guys are very good. I mean, that was a super impressive performance. Wait, Tadej Pogacar. I just want to make sure I'm not giving bad info. Yeah.
Who's the rider, the French guy with the three brothers? They're three brothers. One's still riding. One had a heart issue,
Oh,
but they
Victor
all
will
said,
say, no, yeah, no.
no, no.
It's the guy that's good. Hold on
He
one
won a
second.
stage.
At the tour, well, he was like a classics contender. It's Anthony Turgis.
Yeah, he's got two brothers. Yeah.
And but with Sagan's brother does not get enough credit. That guy oftentimes would be the only Slovakian teammate at the World Championships because they wouldn't have enough points. And he's delivering 3 straight world titles. So good on you, Sagan brother, Yuri Sagan, whatever your name is. But guys, fellas, I got to go. Thank you for coming and sharing your top 10. And look for Jonathan's book in bookstores near you. Coming soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Looking for space in Emporia at Hardway Pod.
Yeah, we need that space.